Once upon a time, there were two men, a cobbler and a farmer, who were close friends in their youth. The cobbler married, and had several children, and the farmer became their godfather. For this reason both men called each other godfather. When they met, it was like, Godfather, this, and Godfather, that. The cobbler was a hard-working little man, but he lived poor. Because he had to feed many people in the house. On the other hand, the farmer soon became rich, because he had no children, who could eat up his savings. Years passed and wealth started, changing the nature of the farmer. The more he accumulated, the more he wanted. And now people started whispering behind his back that he was stingy and greedy. His wife was also like him. She was also very stingy and thrifty. And, as I told you, she had neither a chick nor a child to raise. The richer the farmer became, the less he cared about his poor friend, and his poor friend's children. Now when they called him Godfather, he began to frown impatiently, and whenever he saw any of them, he pretended to be very busy, for fear that they might ask him for help. One day, when he slaughtered the lamb, the poor cobbler came to him, and said, "My dear godfather, you have just slaughtered a fresh lamb. Won't you please give me a small piece of meat? My wife and children are hungry." "No," roared the rich farmer man. "Why should I support your family? You should also save like me, and then you won't have to ask for favors from anyone." Humiliated by the refusal, the cobbler went home, and told his wife about his friend. "Go back to him," his wife insisted, "and tell him again, that his children are hungry. I don't think he understood you." So the poor little cobbler returned to the rich farmer man. Apologizing, he cleared his throat, and stammered. "Dear godfather, you don't want your poor children to starve, do you? Just give me a little piece of meat, that's all I ask." The angry farmer man picked up a piece of meat, and threw it at his poor friend. "There!" he shouted. "And now go to hell with your body, and tell the devil I sent you." The cobbler picked up the piece of meat. It was all thick and crispy but messy. The cobbler thought to himself, "There is no use in taking this house. I think it'd be better to do as the Godfather says. Yes, I'll go to hell, and give it to the devil." So he went trampling into hell, and stood at the door. The little devil standing guard welcomed him happily. "Hello, cobbler. What do you want here?" "I have a gift for the devil, a piece of meat, that the Godfather gave me." The little devil guard nodded his head understandingly. "Good, good. Well then, come with me, and I'll take you to Prince Lucifer. But first let me give you some advice. When the prince asks you what gift you want in return, tell him you want the tablecloth from his table." Then the little devil led the cobbler into the presence of Prince Lucifer, and the prince welcomed him with all respect. The cobbler told him what the godfather had said, and gave him a piece of meat. Lucifer received it with great grace. Then he said, "Now, my dear cobbler, I give you a small gift in return. Do you see anything here that you would like?" "If your majesty likes it," said the cobbler, "give me the cloth, which is spread on your table." Lucifer immediately gave him the cloth, and bid him farewell, with best wishes, for a pleasant journey, back to earth. As the cobbler was leaving, a friendly little devil said to him, "I just want you to know, that this is no ordinary tablecloth, that the prince gave you. Whenever you feel hungry, all you have to do, is spread out that cloth, and say, 'A meat and a drink.' Or, as much as you want, and you will immediately get what you asked for." Overjoyed with his good fortune, the little cobbler immediately returned to earth. When night came, he stopped at a tavern, and thought this would be a good place to try a tablecloth. So he took it out of his bag, spread it on the table, and said, "A meat and a drink." Immediately a sumptuous feast arrived, and the cobbler was surprised by the magic, and the cobbler ate, and drank to his heart's content. Now the tavern keeper was an evil, greedy man, and when he saw the farmer using the tablecloth, he realized that the tablecloth was a magical cloth, and how it worked. He became eager to take the tablecloth from the poor farmer. He called his wife aside, and whispered what he had seen. Her eyes were also full of greed. "Husband," she whispered, "we've got to grab that tablecloth. Imagine how much this will help us in our business. Let me tell you what we'll do. Tonight, while the cobbler is sleeping, we'll steal his tablecloth, and replace it with our own. He is an ordinary person, and will never know the difference." So that night, while the cobbler was sleeping, they quietly came in, stole the magic tablecloth from the bag, and replaced it with their own. Next morning, the cobbler got up, and spread out the cloth he had found in his bag, and said, "Meat and drink for one." Of course nothing happened. "This is strange," he thought to himself. "I'll have to take it back to the devil, and ask him to give me something else." So instead of going home, he went back to hell, and knocked on the gate. "Hello, Machi," said the little devil of a guard. "What do you want now?" "Well, you see, it's like this," the cobbler explained. "This tablecloth of the devil was working well last night, but this morning it's not working." The little devil smiled. "Oh, I understand. And you want Prince Lucifer to take it back, and give you something else, right? Well, I'm sure he will. If you want my advice, I'd say you ask him about the red rooster sitting in the corner of the chimney." And saying this, he took him to Prince Lucifer. The prince welcomed the cobbler with the same kindness as before, and was fully prepared to exchange the tablecloth for the red rooster. When the cobbler came back to the gate, after changing the tablecloth, the little devil of the guard said, "I see you have a red cock. Now I just want to tell you, that this is no ordinary cock. Whenever you need money, all you have to do is put that rooster on the table and say, 'Crow, rooster, crow.' He will crow, and as soon as he crows, a golden ducat will fall from his bill. What a lucky man I am." The little cobbler thought in his mind, and he immediately came back to earth. As night fell, he stopped again, at the same tavern, and when the time came, to pay for his dinner, he placed the red rooster on the table, and said, "Crow, cock, crow." The rooster crowed, and sure enough a golden ducat fell from its bill. The greedy tavern owner licked his greedy lips, and quickly went to his wife. "Wow, we have a red rooster, that lays gold ducat," said the wife. "I'll tell you what we'll do. When the cobbler goes to sleep, we'll trade the red rooster. He's an ordinary person, and will never know the difference." Night came, and they did the same, as they had done with the tablecloth. So the next morning after breakfast, the cobbler placed, what he thought was his cock, on the table, and said, "Crow, cock, crow." Of course nothing happened. "I wonder what's the matter with you," he said to the cock. "I'll have to take you back to the devil." So he went to hell again, and explained to the little devil of a guard, that the cock would no longer drop golden ducats from its bill. The little devil heard and smiled. "I suppose you'd like Prince Lucifer to give you something else, wouldn't you?" The cobbler nodded. "I'm sure he will," said the little devil. "Looks like he has started liking you. Now follow my advice, and ask him for the pair of sticks lying under the tandoor." Lucifer gives him the stick, and wishes him a pleasant journey home. When the cobbler came back to the gate, the little devil guard shook his head, and blinked his eyes. "Cobbler," he said, "they're good sticks. You don't know how good they are. They'll do anything you tell them. If you point to a man, and say to them, 'Beat him,' they will give him a terrible defeat. Now I want you to try these wands, on that tavern lord, and his wife, because they are playing tricks on you. They stole your tablecloth, and your roster. When you arrive at the tavern tonight, they will be entertaining a wedding party, and they will say they have no room for you. Do not argue, but quietly take out your sticks, and order them to knock among the wedding guests. Then order them to beat up the tavern lord and his wife, and they will both soon be pleading for mercy, and ready to return your property to you." The cobbler thanked the little devil guard for his good advice, and put the sticks in his bag, and returned to earth. When he arrived at the tavern, sure enough, he saw a wedding party, feasting and dancing. "Go from here," Lord Tavern roared. "There's no room for you." Without saying anything, the cobbler took out his sticks, and said, "Sticks, walk among the wedding guests. Within a short time, both the sticks started roaming among the wedding procession, tickling some, and making others fall, creating so much commotion. "Now beat the tavern lord, and his wife," shouted the cobbler. On this, the sticks reached the tavern lord, and his wife, and started beating them on the head and shoulders, until both of them fell on their knees in front of the cobbler, and started begging for mercy. "Are you ready to give me back my tablecloth and roster?" The cobbler asked. "Yes, yes." They cried. "Just get off your sticks, and we'll give you your tablecloth, and cock back, we swear we will." When he thought he had punished them enough, the cobbler ordered the rods stopped, and the tavern lord, and his wife, staggered away, as fast as their trembling legs could carry them. And they returned with the tablecloth, and the chicken. So when the cobbler reached home, he kept all 3 gifts of the devil, safe in his bag. "Now, wife," he said. "Now, kids. Now we're going to have feast." He spread the tablecloth, and said, "Meat and drinks for 10. Immediately such a feast appeared, that for a moment the poor wife, and hungry children, could not believe their eyes. Then they moved forward, and, oh! For the first time in their life, they ate a full meal. And when they could eat no more, the cobbler said, "Not only that, I have something else in my bag too." He took out the sticks and said, "Sticks, tickle the babies." Immediately the sticks began jumping among the children, and tickling their ribs, until they were all roaring with laughter. "And that's not all," said the cobbler. "There's something else in my bag too." He took out the red chicken, placed it on the table and said, "Crow, cock, crow." The rooster crowed, and a golden ducat fell from its beak. Oh! The children began to cry, and the youngest began to plead, "Let him do it again, let him do it again." So the cobbler said again, "Crow, cock, crow." And then a golden ducat fell from the cock's bill. The children were so happy, that the cobbler kept blowing his trumpet all night, until the room was filled with heaps of shining ducats. After some time the cobbler and his family became rich, and the neighbors started whispering about them. And this whisper reached the ears of the Godfather farmer. "Do you think those beggars really got some money?" the rich farmer said to his wife. "We'd better go over there immediately, and take a look." So they quickly reached the cobbler's hut, and they shook hands with him, and his wife very impressively, and they rubbed their hands together, and smiled. And the rich man said, "Dear Godfather, how are you? And how are all my dear good children? And what good fortune has you got, that you have become rich overnight?" The cobbler said, "I am indebted to you, Godfather, it is all because of you." "Because of me?" repeated the farmer, and although he felt sick inside, at the thought that someone had benefited through him. He continued smiling, and rubbing his hands. "Tell me about it, dear godfather," Rich Farmer said. "You know that piece of meat you gave me," the cobbler said. "You told me to give it to the devil. I followed your advice, and gave it to the devil as a gift, and he gave me all these wonderful things, in return. So it is because of the meat, that I give you," said the rich farmer. "If it's all because of me, then don't you think it's all mine, and you should give it to me," he said with greed-filled eyes. "Yes, these things are ours. If we did not give you that tender meat, then do you think that you have got any of these things from the devil, poor cobbler?" roared the farmer's wife. "You are trying to subjugate someone else's thing, don't you think?" The rich farmer is trying to put pressure on the cobbler. Both the cobbler and the wife look at each other, and do not know what to say. "I know it's all because of you, but dear godfather, you have everything. So why don't you give these things to me? I and my family will always be grateful to you," the cobbler said. "I don't need your gratitude, just give me back the things that are mine." And saying this, the farmer and his wife snatched the tablecloth, the cock, and the sticks from the cobbler. The cobbler and his wife pleaded with them, but they did not listen to them, and despised them, and returned to their home. The farmer and his wife are overjoyed, and try the tablecloth, the cock and the stick, and became more rich. Here the cobbler and his wife again started worrying about their lives. "You go to the devil, and ask him to give you something," said the cobbler's wife. "But I have nothing to give him," said the cobbler. His wife went, and brought a piece of chicken meat, and said, "Go give it to the devil, and asked him to give you something, in exchange for this meat." The cobbler took that piece of meat to the devil, and the little devil welcomed him, and said, "What has brought you here again, cobbler?" The cobbler told him everything. The little devil smiled, and led him to Prince Lucifer. And as before, he advised cobbler, that if Prince Lucifer asks you anything, tell him everything, he can bring back everything you lost. And the cobbler goes to the devil, and offers him the meat, but this time the devil is not impressed by the meat, and tells the cobbler, that this is not the meat you brought the first time. The cobbler became worried, and thought that if the devil was not impressed by the meat, he would not give him anything. So he told him the whole story, and thought that the devil would take pity on him, and give him something. Prince Lucifer smiled and said, "Okay, I want to meet the one who fed me that tender meat." So you went to the farmer and his wife, and told them that I wanted to meet them, and reward them, for letting me taste delicious and tender meat. Go and bring them to me. As soon as the Prince Lucifer ordered the cobbler to go to earth, and say to the farmer and his wife the same words that the devil had said to him. The farmer and his wife said, laughing with greedy eyes, "Tell us, cobbler, which road do you take to hell? So we can go and talk to the devil, and get our reward from him." The cobbler showed them the way. The farmer and his wife slaughtered their best cattle and then, carrying all the best pieces of meat on their backs, and they staggered into hell. When the little devil sitting on guard saw them coming, he smiled and started laughing. "Welcome," he said. "We've been waiting for you for a long time. Come in immediately." He took them to Prince Lucifer, and the prince recognized them immediately. He said, "It's great that you came early. It saved my trip to Earth. I was thinking the other day that it was time to go after you. And look what amazing meat you brought with you. And I thought that if what you brought with you is so tasty and tender, then you will definitely eat it every day. So imagine how delicious your meat will taste to me. This will make me very happy." And after hearing the words of the devil, the farmer and his wife could not believe their luck, and they started begging for mercy from the devil, and started crying. Prince Lucifer ordered his guards to take them to the kitchen and prepare a large feast for his enjoyment. That's why the rich farmer and his wife were never seen on earth again. As for the cobbler, he got his things back, and may he and his family live long and happily. He shared his good fortune with others, never forgetting the times when they too suffered from poverty. And because they were good and kind, Satan's gifts brought them only happiness.